There is a woman watching this right now who sits in her car for a few extra minutes before she walks into work. The engine is off, she's not on her phone, she's just sitting there. Because the second she opens that door, the day starts. And the day has been draining the life out of her for a long time now. And here's the part that nobody talks about. She's good at her job, she's not failing, she shows up, she does the work. People depend on her. From the outside, everything looks fine, but on the inside, she's done. Maybe she's an empty nester now and the house is quiet in a way that it never used to be. Maybe she finally paid off the place that she lives in and she can actually afford her life. Maybe there's a dream sitting in the back of her mind, working from home, starting her own little practice, something that is hers. And every single day that she drives the same 35 minutes to a place she does not want to be, to do work she stopped caring about years ago. And here's the line she tells herself, the one that keeps her right where she is. She says, I just need to make sure everything is in order first. I do not want to leave and regret it. I want to talk to that woman today because I have been that woman and I sat in that car. And I want to give you the one thing that finally let me walk away. It was not courage. It was not a vision board. It was not a sign from God. It was a number. So welcome back to the channel. If you're a Black woman somewhere in your late 40s or your 50s looking at the second half of your life and quietly wondering if it's too late to start over, you are in the right place. This whole series is about the fears that keeps us frozen when every part of us is ready to move on. And today we're talking about money, but not the way everybody else talks about money. We're talking about a very specific kind of money, a kind of money that has a name. Some people call it FU money, walk away money, the fun that lets you look at your boss deep in the eye and say, I'm done and I mean it. And I need to clear something up right away because this is where most women lose hope before they even start. Walk away money is not $1 million. It is not the lottery. It is not the number that you are waiting on before you are finally allowed to breathe. Walk away money is a runway. It is the amount of money that buys you enough time to figure out your next move without panicking. 6 months, maybe a year, but enough money that your bills get paid while you build the thing that is actually yours. That is it. That is the whole secret. The people chasing millions never tell you. You do not need to be rich to walk away. You need a runway and a decision. And if no one has told you lately that you are allowed to want out, hit that subscribe button because that is the entire reason this channel exists, okay? Let me tell you how I learned this. Years ago, I was working as a contractor and I had quietly started doing one thing that I did not fully understand the value of it yet. Every single paycheck, I had set up a direct deposit straight into a savings account, automatic, before I could even touch the check, before I could talk myself out of it. And in my heart, it was not anything serious. It was just rainy day money. That's how I called it. A little cushion. And I had no idea what it was about to become in my life. Now, here's what was happening at that job. The company that I worked for lost one of their major contracts. We got paid for the value of the work. So when that contract was gone, it meant less work for everyone and less money in everyone's pocket, of course, including mine. But that same company had a habit. They charged us a lot of overhead, ridiculous administrative fees that came straight out of our checks every single week. So now I'm making less money and they are still taking the same big chunk off the top for administrative fees. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I tried to fix it the right way. So I went to them and I said, look, I'm bringing in less right now because of the contract that we lost. So, can we reduce these administrative fees while things are tight? They said no. So, I tried again. I went to my manager and I said, give me another customer, give me another contract so that I can make up for the income that I lost. I will do the work. And you know I will. They said no. And then I found out that there was a contract coming, one that I was in line for, one that I had earned. They gave it to a white guy instead. And I want to be honest about what that did to me because some of you know this exact feeling in your body. I had watched other people in that company, people who did not look like me, negotiate for more money and get it. No problem. The door was open for them. But it did not matter what I said. It did not matter how I said it. It did not matter that I was one of the best that they had by their own feedback. They simply did not want to work with me. So there was one Friday right after the last of those conversations. I remember sitting there and something just clicked inside of me. I thought, I have given this company everything. I have done the work. I have the results to show for it. And when I needed them to meet me halfway one time, they treated me like I was the worst person on the payroll. And in that moment, instead of crying about it, I got quiet. And then I did some math. I logged into that little savings account that I had started, the rainy day account, the automatic deposit that I had been making without even thinking about it. And I looked at the number and I sat back. Because here's what the number said. Based on what I had saved and based on how small I had kept my expenses, I was good for 6 months. 6 months of every single bill paid, no income at all. And here's a detail I want you to catch. My car insurance, I paid it once a year because when you pay for the year up front, they give you a discount. So a whole category of my expenses was already handled for 12 months. I did not even have to think about it. 6 months, that was my runway. And in that second, the fear that I was feeling just left my body. Now, normally when I finish work, I go straight home. And this was my routine. Not that day. That day when I was done, I drove right back to the company. I gathered up all the equipment, the same equipment that they had been charging me administrative fees to use. And I carried it into the main office and I set it down. And somebody at the office looked at me and said, "Oh, are you going on vacation?" I said, "No, I quit." They said, "What do you mean you quit?" I said, "It means exactly what it means. I quit." And then they said the thing. They said, "Well, who's going to do your job?" I looked at them and said, "I do not care. You figure it out." And I walked away. If you have ever wanted to do exactly that, walk into a place that did not value you and just hand it back, type the words "I quit" in the comments right now. I want to see how many of us are sitting on that feeling. And this is the permission you needed today. Because the rest of this series is going to keep handing that permission to you. Now, you might be wondering what happened after. About a month later, that same company was calling me, begging me to come back. They could not find anyone who could handle my customers the way that I did. And you know the funny part? They offered me everything that I had asked for. And then they offered me more money on top of it. I said no. I told them, "You did not know my worth when I was standing in front of you asking. I'm sure you are not going to know it now. And it does not matter to me anymore." Now, here's what I want you to really hear in this story. I did not have $1 million. I was not rich. I had a small budget and a small life in a savings account most people would not look twice at. What I had was 6 months and a decision. This is what walkaway money is. It is not the number that makes you wealthy. It is the number that makes you free to live. And I made myself a promise that day. I promised that I would never again be in a position where I felt that powerless, where I gave a place my best. And when I needed one thing back, they could just say no and watch me have no options. That feeling, that powerless feeling, this is the thing, the one way money protects you from. Not the money, the options. And I am not the only one who figured this out. I was listening to a woman on a podcast once. She was talking about how she started her online business and she had a corporate job. And before she left it, she saved up a whole year of her income, a full year of her expenses sitting in the bank. And she made herself a promise. She said, I am going to spend this 1 year going all in my own thing. And she did. And you know what she said the secret was? She said that the reason she could go all in, the reason that she had the freedom to really build was that she was not lying awake every night wondering how her bills were going to get paid. She had already answered that question for a whole year. That was her FU money, her walk away money. Now, I want to show you the other side of this because building the runway is only half of it. The other half is plugging the leaks. Because I had a friend, and in the year 2022, this man was still paying AOL. Yes, remember you got mail AOL? And I laughed because he had signed up for some internet service way back when, $50 a month. He just never stopped the service. And when he finally sat down to do his budget, he realized that even when he had internet with a completely different company, he spent a decade paying $50 a month for something that he was no longer using. And the company just kept quietly taking his money because this is what they do. They count on you not looking. And when he found out, he found a whole graveyard of things that he was still paying for that he did not even use anymore. I tell you that story because here is the truth that most people miss. You do not always have to earn more to get free. Sometimes you just have to need less. So let me make this real simple because I do not want you to leave this video inspired and then do nothing. There are just two steps. That is it. So step one, you need to know exactly where your money is going. I cannot stress that enough. And not a vague idea, the real numbers. You need to sit down and look at what is actually leaving your account every single month. The subscriptions, the fees, the little luxuries that turn into habits that you do not even enjoy anymore. Because here's what they do not want you to know. Companies love an employee with a giant car payment and a pile of monthly bills. Why? Because that person cannot afford to walk away. Those payments are not just expenses, they are a chain. They are chains. The bigger your bills, the more they own you. So when you cut a liability you do not need, you are not just saving money, you are buying back your freedom. Drop $1,000 a month in things that you do not need, and you just shrunk your escape number by $12,000 a year. You did not earn a dime more. You just stopped paying for your own cage. All right. Step number two, what your FU number is. Take your bare minimum monthly survival costs, not your fancy life, your survival, rent or mortgage, food, insurance, the things that actually keep the lights on. Then multiply it by the months of freedom that you want. If your bare bones bills are $4,000 a month, then 3 months of runway of FU money is $12,000. 6 months is $24,000. A year is $48,000. And listen to me. If 6 months feels impossible right now, do not throw the whole thing away. Start with 3 months. Even 3 months of breathing room changes how you walk into that building on Monday. I promise you. So the secret is not the size of the number. The secret is being consistent and being intentional. A little every single paycheck, automatic deposit before you can touch that money. Exactly the way that I did it without even realizing what I was building at the time. So here's what I want you to take from all of this. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not weak for being scared to leave. You are not foolish for wanting security first. You are a woman who has carried a lot of people, and you do not want to be reckless. I understand that completely. But fear that dresses itself up as being responsible is still fear. And waiting until everything is perfectly in order is a way of waiting forever. You do not need everything in order. You need a runway and a decision. And the life that you actually want, the quiet morning with no commute, the work that is finally yours, that first client from your own couch, it is so much closer than the fear is telling you. If you would just do two things, you know where your money is going and decide what your FU number is. So here's your homework, and I mean today, before you go to bed. Add up your bare minimum monthly survival cost. Just that one number. That is the seed of everything. Then open a separate savings account and set up one automatic deposit. It does not matter how small, $25. The amount is not the point. Starting is the point. That is the day your walkaway fund is born. That is the day your FU fund is born. Now, once you have built that runway and you have escaped the job that was draining you, there is a second question waiting, and it is a big one. How do you make sure that you never chain yourself to somebody else's machine again? How much is actually enough to be done for good on your own terms, not on someone's number society made up? For that, you're going to have to wait for tomorrow, because that is the next video in this series. The walk away money gets you out. The next one is about the freedom number that keeps you out. So make sure that you hit subscribe so it lands right in front of you. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Webley, and I want you to drop your survival number in the comments. If you are brave enough, and tell me one thing that you are going to stop paying for this week. And I read every single one of your answers, and I am very grateful for them. And I know that you can do this. You can do this. And I will see you in the next one.